don't want to get wrapped up into predictions because there's a lot going on here. We're dealing with so much pushing and pulling here that the daily chart is changing by the hour. And here we are, VIX still at 19.5, still carrying a lot of volatility, still looking for a lot of shaking and bacon. So yeah. Good news is we have a claim to the We have a claim to the TPT competition potentially. We have 1 day left. He says that he has met all the criteria. Of course, once TPT verifies it tomorrow, if he does make it to one more day, of course, we'll have a victor for the TPT $1,000 prize. So we'll see. We'll see. Of course, once it's verified. And then, of course, we'll start another one. Once this one's closed, we'll start another one the day after. Give someone else a chance. Same winner can't win twice, so he'll have to sit with that one out, but we'll do another one. Right now, out of the gate, we have put buying, and then we just hit some put selling. Still have call selling right here. What's up, Options Noob? How you doing? How you doing? Better than I deserve. I love it. Top wicks here on NASDAQ, rolling back over. What do I think about this potential recovery? Do I think we're going to go back up? Honestly, I have no idea. I have no idea. Right now, the S&P is 50-50, red and green. Half the tech is red, half the tech is green. What did AMD end up doing? AMD reported earnings yesterday. They dumped and then recovered half of about the move, and now they're about to recover the full thing, of course. ES is flat. NASDAQ is still kind of rolling over here into the morning session. Didn't take much on the lotto call. Nice. If he held a funded account for 30 days, he's already a winner. I agree. As long as he did it properly. 100%. I agree. I agree. We'll see. Congrats to that person. Yep, 100%. I love it. Today's my final day for 5 or 5 test. Very excited to pass. Keep it up. Keep up the great work. I love it. Don't intend on taking a play until 9:45. I just have to kind of figure out what's going on here. Is it Trader J? It is not Trader J. It is not Trader J. $25,531. We have liquidity down to 510. Yesterday was the first day I've seen in a long time that the call buyers never once stepped in. We had a whole crap ton of put selling to start the session off. Of course, that which led to a big green move, but no call buying whatsoever. So very interesting. Very interesting. Very interessante. There he goes, 25,511 dropping back over here. A little bit of red. I'm going to look across things. Probably isn't in it. I don't know. A little bit more red coming down. So that's down from 576 to 491. We have pivot at 404. We have liquidity a little bit lower. Mostly, now that they filled that stuff, it's leaving up to higher, but it's still very, very light liquidity. We do have some call selling put buying at the moment to roll back over, but still no outlier moves. Not yet. What's up, AR? How you doing? Gonna be crowded today? Yeah. What's up, YouTube? How's it going? Massive ES volume, yeah. He loves to sing. Who loves to sing? Weirdo. Top wick here, 25.5 and dropping. Rolling back over. Still waiting. We have there, we're looking at ES. So the whole thing I'm looking for here, especially into 945, is how are they going to respond to what's going on here? We had a ton of selling, a ton of buying, but we're not having extension yet. All we're doing is undoing the pre-market session here, and we'll see what the full markets want to do. We still have a VIX that's carrying very elevated, 19 or change, so the volatility is still high, the IV is still high. So like I said yesterday, I'm not going to get too quick to put myself in a bias or a prediction mode and get my arrogance and ego tied up into the market. I'm just going to be very chill, and I'm going to wait for the market to present itself and, of course, play the 3Cs. If you look at gold, gold had a beautiful bullish evening as well. They are still up there, up 0.7%, hanging at 3,900. Can't quite reclaim 4,000 yet. Gold's putting on some very clean moves, so it's a good option to play today. I'm very curious to see how the market is going to respond to the mayoral elections last night that occurred, a historic event, and unfortunately a historic event is being played out on the world's largest financial district. So the capital of capitalism now has a socialist communist mayor, and we'll see how that's going to play out going into the coming months with the financial district. Schumer is seeking to end the government shutdown, of course, after he gets his boy elected. Always forget to hit that button. That's right. That's right. Right back up, 25.540. My favorite feature on this beauty. What do you got, a winch? I like it. That's an old taco, too. I love it. Do you think a mayoral race even matters? Any other city, I would say no. But you have to, I mean, you know, New York is going to be the capital of billionaires and Wall Street gurus. So you never know. I don't know it will, but I would say if it's going to matter in any city in America, New York City would be the one it would matter in. But we'll see. You know, hopefully it has no effect and everyone's just being emotional. But we'll see. We selling off yet? Not yet. VIX is rolling 1894, a little bit of a bottom wick. Oh, man. Every single time the market bottom wicks like this, it's just another opportunity to kill IV and volatility, which is terrible. Like, I'm ready for an extension move to have a little fun. This is just, it's not even fun anymore. Every single move that sets up is just bottom wicked, and we pin for a couple of days, and then we move, and then we bottom wick and pin. It's just boring. I'm ready for some shakeout. I'm ready for some 2022. There's something going. Even the blast off moves to the upside is not even happening. It's just grinding. Father-in-law offered me his tractor, 5 pieces of equipment and trailer to haul it, all for $7K, down $200 a month, interest free, total price $20. I'm trying to earn that down payment, 2 funded accounts. Let's get it, Pastor. Let's get it. NASDAQ back up to the high. We have 71 million call buying, 207 million put buying. So the call buyers are starting to hit. We don't have a lot yet, but it's hitting. It's hitting. Let's go look at Trace. We had a massive player at 67.40 yesterday who removed his exposure right before the book ended. Now, ooh, that's interesting. A big player came in at 6,600 for a couple of million, about 6 million. We have a strike at 67.70 is the main exposure today, 67.70 SPX. What do I think about the ES daily candle? Let's take a look. Top wick on ES. The ES daily candle we have, an incredibly engulfing red candle yesterday. Very, very bearish, under volume. But now, of course, today so far we have a pretty aggressive bottom wick. So we need to see how today's candle closes, as we always do. Wait for the close of the candle to form any kind of thesis. But as some people noted last night, and as what the markets have been doing, every single bearish move for the past 7 months, no matter how bearish it is instantly bottoming to go higher. So it doesn't matter. Every single bearish setup has been wick, which is why I said yesterday, despite the fact that yesterday's setup was incredibly bearish after some pretty weak internals for 4 or 5 days in a row, which resulted in a beautiful red move, we can't really hang our hats on any kind of downside. It's very low probability to market the sell-off in this environment with 0DT call buying, with the tweets, with the fraud, internal trading, all that kind of stuff. It's just very difficult for the market to go down. So I don't know. I mean, the technical analysis here says bearish flow, downside, possible retracement at 6,600, but the past 7 months has shown that we can't get any extension. All that to say is that you can have a thesis, but it makes it very difficult to have any actionable downside positions because they just get instantly reversed. Now, here's the deal, though. The government opening, whenever that may be, it could be this week, next week, whenever. I'm seeing mixed signals here. Nothing concrete. Once the government opens, that's a double-edged sword because on one hand, we'll have a pretty visceral green reaction when the government opens, but what happens after that? We get data dumps. We get months and months of non-farm payroll, CPI, revisions to CPI because the last one was largely made up, and all this other data that's going to be posted. So that could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. We don't know. The market does not like uncertainty. Regardless of how you interpret bullish or bearish data, regardless, doesn't matter. It's all about the fact that the market doesn't like uncertainty. And there is going to be a level of uncertainty here and volatility and positioning thereof with all this data dumping coming along. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. So if it opens up, let's say they announce today that the government opens back up. We'll have an aggressive amount of data coming very quickly. Maybe even Friday. What's up, Will? The last few days I felt like the calm before the storm, each side afraid to push. Yeah. Does the market look like a sell-off to you? What news do you think will shift the overall market? Well, it's not going to be driven by news. It's going to be uncertainty, of course. Right now the market may be kind of holding up for a little bit of uncertainty, positioning for it. But the market does not like uncertainty. It likes their plain Jane, price everything in, hedge applicably, roll off hedges as needed. And right now they can't really do that. So we're left up here. We're not really going too much higher, but we're also not selling off. We're just back and forth. We're pretty much at the same price now for the past week. We're even on retracing back down to September levels. So, we're kind of doing this little back and forth little thingy here. And I think we're waiting for all this uncertainty to shake out. Is it setting up for a 3C bounce? I don't know, maybe. That was my question yesterday. Do we get revisions to everything, or will they report prior months? Well, they're gonna post the data that we haven't already had. But if you remember the footnote in the CPI data that was last posted, the one that said Trump should post, it was all largely interpretation. They said there's a lot of data they had to take liberties with because we didn't have the data for it. So of course they're gonna have to revise that when they get the actual data. Why do you think Trump allowed them to post that one single CPI data? So coming up next, of course, is going to be all the actual data postings plus the revisions, not to mention the normal revisions they always post anyway. All that to say is that whether you interpret it as bearish or bullish, it's going to be uncertain, and that's the point I'm getting at here. And with uncertainty requires hedging, which is going to spike the VIX, increase premiums, increase the price ranges. Yep, Trump's speaking today. Yeah, 1 p.m. Isn't this the tech age? Shouldn't we be a little more accurate with planned data releases? Well, that's a larger conversation. It's too early in the day to put my tinfoil hat on, so we're just going to do some price action. Anyway, ES is 67.98. NASDAQ is kind of 25.550. All the data has shaken out. It's largely changed. 67.20 is back on, so it's 20 points below where it was yesterday, and coming along here. Is it ever too late for tin hats? Yeah. There you go. $67.20 SPX. NASDAQ is going higher. Laughing in tinfoil hat. Yeah. We have liquidity up to 68.20 on ES. We have 25.6. It looks like they are going to at least try to make a move to 25.6 and go from here. That will put us into the overnight high area, which will be a great liquidity area. You can watch that liquidity block. If we have a spike of volume into the liquidity block at 600, you know what to do. Look for the 3C short op. Otherwise, step out of the way. Step out of the way. There we go. Going up even mo. Here comes 600 touch right here. And we should get something going at least. Boom, big spike, 7 more points, 5 more points into 600 coming into it. We do have some volume spike into it. Big volume spike, highest volume candle today, right into 600. And we'll see what they're going to do with this area. 3 C's, baby. 3 C's. Call buying. We have 121 million in calls. We have 189 million of puts, but they've sold off the puts from 400. There's a tap of price action right into the 600 mark. They had a red candle, instantly bottom wicked, of course, so far, but we do have a volume spike. So wait for the confirmation to see if you get your setup. But that is a very aggressive move into 600. Coming right into 945. So far, pretty similar open to yesterday, just launch mode here. We're already up over 100 points from the lows and blasting, because why wouldn't we? Ninja Trades are frozen. Nice. Massive green candle still going. Same exact price action as yesterday. Call buying. Oh, looks the option chain is different. So now we actually have call buying as opposed to yesterday, but the price action is the same. Just relentless blast off extension to the high side through 25,600. Still maintaining some puts. We will see who sells first, NASDAQ or gold. Yeah, gold's been a bread and butter position, man. I'm looking forward to see if gold continues that. So far, beautiful 3C short on gold and still falling. $39.81 and falling. NASDAQ is still chilling at 600 here. We do have a volume spike at the top of this candle, so right here was the volume spike. Third C will be approximately 591 or so. But gold has been great. Great. I tried to jump on the rocket yesterday and it wasn't a crazy return relative to the risk. I don't think I'll try that again. Well, it depends on position sizing, of course. Is China hoarding gold? We already know that. Yeah, they are hoarding gold. In fact, the past year they have been the biggest buyer of gold in the world. Now, that sounds a little misleading because you hear that and say, oh, well, they're the reason why gold's flying. You know, China is going to tank the gold market. However, their overall position, so although they've been the biggest buyer of gold, their still net quantity, their net inventory is not nearly close to the highest holder of gold. A little bit of red candle, instantly bottom wicked on NASDAQ, going higher. You cannot move unless you have a 3C close. There we go, new high of the day for NASDAQ, straight up. We're up almost 200 points on NASDAQ and flying. 625 going to 630. They're doing exactly the same thing they did yesterday, which is squeezing out the shorts. They're selling our bonds to buy it. Yeah, buddy. We have liquidity down to 600, but man, chew. It's going. 626 and going, coming up 630 onto 640. Relentless buy. $631. 630 going to 640, still straight up. There's not a single lower low. It's all higher highs, so it's all bullish. It's all bullish so far until you get the lower low. $630, $640. China underreports their holdings. Yeah. Oh man, 630 still going. VIX is deflating, 1845. Let's go take a look at ES. They're doing the same thing, of course. Everything is rocketing green, 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 baby. Economy's amazing. Inflation's down. Best economy ever. 447 on 0 DTE calls. 85 million. Am I doing a Momo along? No. We broke out right here at 945, so, you know, I'm at 945. I wait till 945, obviously, but I haven't taken a position yet today. Not yet. When I take a position, I'll tell you. So this should go higher here. Bottom wick higher, bottom wick higher. We're looking for 25,700. There's 640. Once they close that area, what are we coming up to? The prior liquidity level, the main SR flip, is right here, 645. So if we 643, if we close that level, that's when we should get the move into 700, because that's a pretty aggressive liquidity zone. That's the SR flip on the chart. We're already up 160 points from the open, and about what 400 points from the lows, from the overnight lows. There we go, 640. If you are someone who wants to chase the high side here, which do your thing, you got to get through the SR flip first. This is a pretty hard resistance. Right here. Right here. There we go, 645 straight up. Now we're going to 660. Cloud market, baby. Let's go to 700. Folks, short folks should have taken profit yesterday. I guess short covering commenced. Something like that. Something like that. Still going, straight up. Straight up. What a clown show this is. All right, just took out the SR flip, still going. Now we're going to look for 700, 750. Going, baby. It's going. Wait till we get the reopening news. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty green move when they reopen initially, but then they're going to dump it. And then they'll buy it back up, and bottom we can go higher. That's always what drone pilots say. Yeah. Then we get Santa rally. Probably. Even though the market's countered every kind of sentiment this year, I suppose we'll get Santa rally, yeah. $668. Nothing to say here except just long. Chase the long side. That's it. That's the only advice I can give. They're just they're going to keep on going with this till 700, 700. We have the difference between yesterday. The reason why yesterday I was willing to short it and today I'm not is because today they're buying calls. Yesterday they were not. They sold calls all day long. Today they have 700 million in calls purchased and they're still rocket ships. Straight up. Straight up. Five-minute Jilts PMI. Yeah, we do have some data. I bought some 25,600. Should I have not done that? No, whatever. Just passed my test on that one. Close out for the day. Move on to my options. Nice. Nice. Another bottom wick on every red candle, of course. Still coming. I'm just waiting for a position to set up. Gold, beautiful high volume bottom wicks. I think I'm going to stick to gold here. Gold's been a lot more clean. I think gold can provide an actual a good technical setup instead of blast off every day like NASDAQ. hear the frustration in your voice. Yeah, I guess there is a little frustration there. It's just, this is getting old. It's very difficult to do any kind of real technical analysis. I mean, we could do the whole bear bull hating thing. It's just, I don't see how it's technically sound to constantly buy every single move up for 7 months straight up. So it's getting aggravating to do any kind of real technical analysis because we could guess on going higher, and most of the time we're going to be right. But this is just ludicrous. It's very difficult to do any kind of real technical analysis from a historical standpoint when we're in a melt-up mode like this. So I guess there could be some frustration there, 100%. I like to know whys and whens. I'm very proud of my technical analysis. Obviously I'm very successful with it, but it's difficult when everything just does this every day. Every day. Still going, 25,683, still going. Just waiting for an opportunity. 25,737. I mean, I was bullish for months and months and months, and I thought that I had nailed the top. I thought that things were perfect. And then, of course, here we are. So, not to sound like an a-hole, but I spend my life and the majority of the time setting markets, price relationships that everyone has a winner. Makes me think I've wasted my time. True. True. Definitely no such thing as being right all the time. Definitely. That's okay. I chickened out on your target profit. That's okay. Taking profit, there's never anything wrong with taking profit. Another red candle, another instant bottom wick, 25,682. I survived the bear market of 958. And now we're going to 25,737, new high of the day, straight up. No skill required, just a win here, just buy. There you go. That's 100%. I stayed longer in my trade. Beautiful. I just got this text. The stop could jump 40% by the next session. Our trading experts are watching closely. Stay alert. Who are you texting with? Jim Cramer? Alrighty. Let's see. We're coming up on the 50% mark for this entire move, liquidity move, which is right at what, 690, 700? That'll be the first one. That was an insane green run, yep. Anyone that has more experience with prop accounts, I just passed my first TPT account, first attempt, 5 traded days, so tomorrow I'll move on a pro. Should I start the next test? That's up to you and your finances and your track record. Has it taken you 100 attempts to finally pass an account? Maybe a little bit sooner, whatever. It depends on you. If you're limited resources, then I would wait till you take your first payout. Use that payout to start a second account, and then you use those funds to build that second funded account. Now you have 2 fundeds, and then you use those payouts to fund a third, and then a fourth, and then the fifth, and then so on and so forth. And now you build until you have 20 funded accounts waiting in the ranks and taking payouts, and now you're good to go. And now your goal after that is to build all that money and put it into your personal brokerage account and build your personal brokerage account. That's what I'd recommend. A little bit of a top wick. It's already bottom wicking though, no sweat. Gold is down to 39.70. And I'm looking for a high volume 3C anywhere to give me something. Saw some flickering. Neo, there you go. They're piling into calls. Yep. They did close some of them though. They went from 150 million in calls sold to 750 million calls purchased, and now they've dropped off about 300 million. So maybe a little profit taking. That's the highest volume candle of the day right there on some news, but so far they're still bottom wicking everything. They stack liquidity up to 25,800, and we're still straight up so far. That was my first attempt. However, yes, I was considering to wait and check my consistency. That's what I would do, Jonathan. I would get funded, which you already have, build that buffer, and then start taking some payouts, and then use a chunk of the payout to buy another eval and do that, and just grow. Treat prop firms what they are. It's a tool, not a slot machine. And then your ultimate goal, of course, is to build your own your own personal brokerage account. All roads from props lead to personal brokerages. All right, we have a tremendous amount of volume there. Obviously, it came in with data. It resulted in a doji, but I think the overall low here, we need to get under this about 665, 660 or so, and that maybe will get us a retracement here. I'm sure we'll retrace some of it. All fun. We're having a lot of fun here. They're going to give us a retracement eventually, but we just got to be smart about it, you know. So far, you know, we'll see what happens. Nice little red so far, very small. The VIX is still crumbling down to 1830. They are buying back some puts. Bottom wick. So for a possible 3C forming on gold, let's go take a look. Yeah, definitely. So the technical 3C is 3979.1. Safety trade would be about 3980.5. That's that liquidity spike that you need to get over. NASDAQ is holding down to 660. We're getting a little bit of red extension here coming down. There's a lower low, dropping back over. Beautiful. Data latency spike on rhythmic products. Here's the SR flip from yesterday's session right here. I feel like I should log off. Yeah, if you took it, why test it? If you got your money for the day, go ahead and chill. Ain't no reason. Bottom wick, right off the SR flip, 643. Trump says that we need to kill the filibuster to reopen the government. $662. When you have multiple TPT accounts, do you trade each individually? What's the benefit of it? I personally don't copy trade mine simply because I hate the copy trader. If I trusted a copy trader, then I might tip into copy trading. I personally just don't like it. It's too much of an emotional swing for me when I spend all that time and effort and time, basically, which, you know, my biggest asset is time, that you build all that time and then like one bad day you're going to smoke 5 or 10 or 15 or however many different accounts. So I personally don't like copy trading. I'll just trade each one individually. And that buffers the losses when you're wrong. And the thing is, when I am reading things correctly and I'm on fire, I don't need a copy trader to make money on multiple accounts. But when I'm stinking up the place and I can't put on a trade to save my life, then I can limit those losses to one account. Now IBKR, that's a different story. Obviously, that's my own personal money. There is no such thing as copy trading with real money. So that's a different story. What is copy trading? Copy trading is a software that'll link multiple accounts on one trade. So you take one trade, it'll copy that one trade across however many accounts. I wish I could pay someone to sit here and copy trade for me who is better than me. That'd be great. I'd pay the money. Copy trading is fantastic when you win, but it's absolutely devastating when you lose, and I learned that a long time ago. I try not to do that. Hey, bottom wick, new high of the day, still going. There's that SR flip, man. They tested the SR flip, bounced, and there off we go. Imagine copy trading or computer crashes. Yeah. If the Rasky rules are still in effect, then we should see some red today as continuation from yesterday's close. Well, we already got some red. You know, the Rasky rules end into the morning session, and we went from 25,600 down to 25,483. So 120 point sell off on Nasdaq is fine. So I look for the Rasky move into the late pre-market, right at the open move. That's where it culminates, because that's how they're going to set up the positions. It gets expensive. Copy trading accounts 150 beer account when you're resetting them. Yeah. I take it you essentially take all your accounts at once, and yep. But that's the thing. People don't think about the risk about that. They only think about the reward when they're doing things right. So that includes pre-market. Well, it's up into I don't want to say the entire pre-market. It's only leading up until the open and then right into the open. And that's my take on it. That's the way I've applied it. Is so if right before they open, if they dump that market all the way down and we have a little flow into the lower side, but yeah, right into that last couple of minutes of pre-market, the first 10 or 15 minutes of open, just so they could shake and make the positions. I would now, although you're gonna see some headlines and tweets about the Supreme Court meeting with Trump about his tariffs. Remember, these are only preliminary comments. The decision is not coming until 2026. So don't get wrapped up on trying to chase headlines with that stuff today. So what is Nasdaq on for Bookmap? Let's take a look. Right now we have 25,737 for 100 orders. We have ES sitting at 68.30. Nasdaq is putting on some top wicks here with volume. Gold, bottom wick the crap out of it. Beautiful 3C long position. And they cleared the first target and now up into 69.87. Y'all see the footage of that plane crash yesterday? That was insane. Sad, sad day, man. They're going to smoke out the shorts. If we're going to go lower, it won't happen until this afternoon or tomorrow. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I still stand by my comment yesterday that I'm not going to put myself in a prediction or a bias. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait for the 3 season play them as I see them, and whatever happens, happens. Did they confirm how many passed away? Last I saw, it was 7 dead, 11 injured. I believe there was 4 on the aircraft. The rest were on the ground, and then 7 additional injured. Yeah, it was terrible, terrible incident, man. 9 confirmed? Wow. It's terrible. Yeah, aviation, man, that's the bad part about aviation is that when things are going down, you see it coming. There's nothing you can do about it. You have to pretty much watch your death for the last 10, 15 seconds of your life knowing it's coming. So it's not a good, that's the bad part about aviation. Something you deal with. They knew they were dead the second they came off that runway. Why do those engines burst into flames? Well, that is a extremely, extremely rare occurrence to the point where that really has never happened, at least not in the last 150 years. Not on a jet airline like that. MD-11s are renowned for being very unreliable. But the fact that that engine not only caught on fire but had a complete catastrophic failure on the runway, very late stages of takeoff too, because if it was early in the takeoff roll, they would have known about it, shut it down. So it had to have happened after the point of no return, and then complete catastrophic failure, and that's it. I mean, it's incredibly rare. You have a better chance of winning the lottery of that actually occurring. I was an airborne infantry 23 years. You've never not, yeah, 100%. Lower income traffic fell double digits this year so far, according to McDonald's. Hey, what did McDonald's do? McDonald's is a great indicator of economy sentiment. They got wrecked and then bounced. Of course they did. What are they doing on the daily? They haven't really moved in a long time. Volume is going nuts, though. Aren't MD-11s very old? Yes. So MDR, yeah. So MD-11s were the 737 MAX of their time. Yeah, MD-11s were the new shiny object. It was the new, hey, this is amazing. It's got 3 engines. It's reliable, but they were riddled with problems. So they were never really fully adopted. And all they've been using for is either maintenance aircraft or cargo aircraft. It was a catastrophic mechanical failure. Yep. I think we need to vote on what days we're allowed to start the morning off with negative news, though, starting to become more often. Every day, pretty much. So, from what I saw, the flames that started just as they lifted off the ground. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting because when you are on takeoff, and I would be willing to bet the pilots of that aircraft are military, past military, because UPS pilots, I was actually a part of that unit. There's an Air National Guard unit on that runway in Louisville. I was actually a part of that for a portion of my career. So I guarantee, and they would farm pilots from that Air National Guard unit because the UPS hub is in Louisville. If you didn't know that, so like when you on Sunday nights you could sit up there on the Louisville runway and you would see all the 747s, just 100 of them take off from Louisville on their Sunday night package deliveries. So I guarantee you those pilots were military, or at least military background. And military background individuals are very, very particular. They're very, very analytical. So on the runway, when you're taking off, hands on the throttle, you're watching your engine temperature gauges, you're watching everything. And if there's any instance of a problem, abort takeoff. So it's weird to me that they didn't catch an increased engine temperature any time before that fire. It's just weird. It's odd that they wouldn't catch that anywhere before on that runway. So it had to have been something absolutely catastrophic after the point of no return, just as they were taken up off the runway. Otherwise, they would have caught it. It was just odd. I would doubt it. I would doubt it. I mean, it supposedly could happen, but I would doubt it. A bird's not going to cause that kind of a catastrophic failure that quickly without them knowing about it. But I guess it could happen. Which day is my live again? Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Big red candles here starting to come off ever so slightly. We have call selling, put buying picking up on the tape here. Right here. Where would you see that? You talking about the engine temperatures? So all aircraft have a gauge called the EGT, which is your engine temp, especially when you're dealing with turboprops or jet engines. So on takeoff, your cross-check is on the engine temp. So when you're on your rollout, EGT is good for engines 1 and 2, in this case engine 3, because there's 3 engines on the MD-11. And if the engine temps are within normal boundaries, then you're fine. But if you have an engine fire, those EGTs are going to spike. You'll get that immediately, and they would abort takeoff. So it's odd that they didn't catch that before, or any kind of indication that something was wrong. So it had to have been catastrophic past the point of no return. So far, gold broke down. Nice. In a past life, I worked in a Rolls-Royce industrial. Oh, very cool. Yeah, so you're familiar with that. Yeah. 25,643. They're still holding this SR flip. There's no surprise that this SR flip is holding up. If you look past, we drew this line yesterday right here, and now they're using it as support. So if you want to short, I would not short above this line. Wait for them to take it, then you short, and we'll see if we can grab the day's lows. Until then, you have to be aware that they have a big liquidity base at 643 or so. Gold is still rolling down a little bit. Maybe the sensors are faulty. No, because they would never would have taken off if the sensors were faulty, unless again they failed on takeoff. Dump on Nasdaq, pump on gold, maybe. I'm watching the options here. The options are starting to turn back bearish. We have they've sold off every bit of the calls, and they're still holding puts. So maybe we'll get a dump. I don't know. The 3Cs will play fine. 1 minute has a top wick with volume. The 5 minute is having the same thing. I need under 643 to get me short. Otherwise, I'm not doing nothing. Not on Nasdaq at least. I'm just going to be smart about it. Smart, what's that? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Gold. I don't know what pilots see. We would see a lot more information than a pilot, I would assume, on the PLC controlled turbine. Well, they have access to pretty much everything. I mean, you have oil temp, oil pressure, you've got engine temps, everything in between. You know, fuel sensors, you have fuel temp. I mean, everything that's monitored on the aircraft, they have access to, and they monitor it before and during the initial takeoff roll. Some group coming in supposed to be investigating everything down to the aircraft maintenance. NTSB, that's the National Transportation Safety Board. They come in, especially on a Class A mishap like this. They'll investigate everything down to what the pilots ate for breakfast that morning. Everything. Every variable you can possibly imagine. They should put the NTSB in charge of Epstein. You put the NTSB on Epstein Island, they'll find out everything about everything. 68.21 here. Another volume spike. It's some of the highest volume on that candle right there on ES, on the 1 minute at least. What's the word of the day today? Bullish. Any new Spotify podcast coming out? Yes, they are. Got a couple of things in the works here. Pretty sure they already know everything about Epstein. Is what they choose. Oh yeah, of course, of course. $68.17. I had a oil pressure issue. The worst emergency I ever had was an engine-related problem. Was a loss of oil pressure, which is a big no-no. That's the sign of an impending engine failure. And I luckily it was right after takeoff. I was already at altitude, and I came around, declared emergency, and landed the aircraft, no problem. But those things are not fun. No fun. It is important, very important. Yeah. Did they teach you how to be calm? Absolutely. So 90% of Air Force military training in terms of aviation is emergency management. 10% is how to run the weapon system and how to fly the aircraft. Everything else is what to do when things go wrong. Every single emergency possible. So, it's crazy. I brought extra, Dan, extra. I'm still waiting for the 643 here to breach. Once they breach, we'll consider a downside position. Options are starting to look more and more bearish. Let's see if they're going to put any liquidity lower. Here comes NASDAQ on down. The possibility. We have liquidity down to 600 and dropping. 620. Now we're going for 600. They removed upside liquidity. Right here. 126 million in puts, 370 million of puts, 125 million calls sold. So they've now sold off about 1.1 billion of calls, and we are in negative call territory. So maybe now time is to punish the call seller, the call buyers. We'll see. Let's see. If we don't terminate the filibuster, we're going to be in very bad shape. We won't pass any legislation for 3.5 years. That's an interesting thing to say. Do pilots work in emergencies wear diapers? No. 25,648 bottom wicking. Right back to the SR flip. Right here. 25,660. Big bottom wick going higher. 60-point bounce. And rocketing. Let's see, 674. Still can't close below the stupid SR flip. Big bottom wick, yep, and NASDAQ and SPO. What RPM do plane turbines run? Most of the industrial turbines are run on about 14. It depends on the aircraft. Anywhere from 1,800 up to multi-thousand. Depends on the aircraft, yeah. That bear market of 1020. What about the guys flying the B-2? They're in the air. They have a latrine on the aircraft. They also have a very specific diet they can eat. Like, you're not allowed to eat, like, chili cheese burritos on the B-2. They eat, like, turkey sandwiches with nothing on them. Right here. Massive green candle, 25,684. And going. Done for the day with a 32% gain. I've had a back-to-back double-digit green week so far. I'm still learning, but thanks to y'all, more consistent. Beautiful. Nice cap. Well done, buddy. Keep it up. Keep it up. Slow and steady, baby. Screw NASDAQ. I'm going to focus on gold. Looking for 68.50 on ES today. Sorry for talking market. Oh, it's all right, Trader J. You know we're not a trading Discord. Let's see. President Trump had given a speech on the economy at 1 p.m. in Miami, Florida. Yeah, buddy. Don't short this. Yep. So we have a massive bottom wick there on the S&P. If you go to the longer time frames here, a likely target is going to be the next SR flip. So if you look, once we clear this area, we're looking for this right about here, right in this block. That's going to be the wick, 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 wick. Every single time, we're going to gather the inventory at about 68.50 here. So don't get caught with your pantalones down into this market. A spicy chili bowl with a 30-hour B2 mission sounds fun. Yeah. However, I'm not forming any kind of bias whatsoever until we get over the highs. That's how I'm doing things. Nice and easy. Whatever position the market's in, he's going to reverse. Hold on a second, I have to mute. All right, I'm back. Sorry, the kids blew up Santa Claus on the back, and it was beating against the window, so I had to move it. All right, big old bottom wick here, 20, 30 points. Once it takes out 68.30, we're going to look for this SR flip to the high side, the macro SR flip. Right on back up. Daily candle is an insanely aggressive bottom wick, of course, as we always do. And again, this little block right here is what I'm looking for. What do I think of ICT strategy? Drastically overcomplicated repackaging of everything we do here. Just liquidity, that's it. Did options at SPY 685 this morning. Beautiful. Still have the massive amount of liquidity at 6,720, and now they have added 6,820. So we have a 100-point basically straddle position on the market. Is that clown still around? He is. Yep. You know, in terms of the strategy, you know, some people use it, whatever. My biggest critique about that is the individual who's way too egotistical. And I do believe that it's nearly impossible to be profitable when you have an ego that big, because there's too much. When you have an ego that big, there's too much emotion involved when you're wrong. And anytime you involve ego in trading, that's a recipe for disaster. So that's my biggest critique, is not necessarily the system itself, it's the individual. 68.20, about to take out this high. Has anyone heard that athletes are giving their children HGH to be 6'7"? 6'7". I have not heard that. I have not heard that. Can't break out the highs yet. He got caught flashing fake P&L. Did he really? Not beautiful because I did a put new trader. Oh, okay. My apologies. Well, it's all right. Just figure out what you did wrong. Let me know if you have any questions. Watch the videos. I'll help as much as I can. The only thing about that HGH is that old Jaeger bomb. Yeah, Jaeger bombs. I'm in the zone. All right, 68.22. We have to 25.775. NASDAQ is up to 25.7. So we are right at the price at which I moved my entire retirement into risk off mode. Time will tell to see if I'm wrong or right. So far, I'm pretty happy with the decision. What do y'all think? You think I'm gonna regret that or what? Imagine Michael Burry holding his funds money, over $1 billion for 2 years, losing money on premiums, waiting for that transaction to return. 2 years losing money, having calls from customers. I'm suing you. I want my money back. Give me back my money. Imagine that. And I'm just worried about my podunk little TSP. There'll still be less stress when they run. There will be stress when they run against. Either way, man, we're only talking 100 points on ES to get there. I think the risk reward here is merits it. What's the return on bond portfolio? Not much. 3 to 4%. Not much. But I'm not really doing it for the return on the bond. I'm doing it for the safety. Yeah, pretty much. Yep. The real question is when you will move it back to the S&P. Any considerable drawdown, I'll move it back. I'm not trying, like, let's say this drops from, let's say this thing drops 40%. Theoretically, I'm not saying it will. If I can even miss 15% of that, I'm good. So the second we have a decent drawdown and things start to get crazy, I'll go ahead and move it back in. No big deal. I'm not trying to catch the entire red move like Michael Burry. I'm just trying to protect myself from the first aggressive liquidation event, and then we'll pile back in. Not too bad. I still have plenty of years left until I need to draw out of that thing, so I'm good. Imagine how he felt having to pay those a-holes after taking crap. Yeah. Would you mind showing an ES chart? Yeah, sure. Hardly regret riding up so long. Yeah, that's what I say, man. I've ridden long now throughout this whole thing. I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. You're good, aren't you? Yeah, I think so. So, yeah, so if you see here, we have the gap initiation. We have bottom wick, bottom wick, bottom wick, and then a course of top wick. So we have an SR flip. So the buyers are going to have their work cut out for them there. That's a big liquidity zone that's going to require a big push to get through 68.48 or so, 68.50. We have, let's call it 50 down to 44, so about a 6-point range. They're going to get through there, and then once they get through there, now we can start talking about the possibility of returning to went to highs. But I'm not going to get all carried away until we breach that level. So, what do you guys think about Mark Moss' take on reverse market crash? I don't know. Oh, crap. I have to go do Bookmap. All right, I have to switch the streams over to Bookmap. I'll post the links when I'm active.